Hi, and welcome to the New Property Show. I'm Steve McMenamin. In this episode, we'll be catching up with Olga to see how she's going in her conquest to find the right builder and the right block of land. And also joining us will be Kate Rees, who'll be discussing with us the benefits of building with a custom builder and the steps you need to take when finding that correct builder there. We'll also be heading out to the Expo, House and Land Expo at the Melbourne Convention Centre, to see the latest offerings and what's happening with brand new homes in 2022. So in the last 2 years, the property market has been through, the most challenging circumstances. We've had builders that have gone down, we've had land that's been pushed out, we've had construction that's been delayed. Where we are now at the moment is the market's really starting to correct itself. So anyone that's faced some serious challenges, they've either made it or they haven't. What we're still finding though is the price of building is actually still escalating. It's actually going up, not come down. Still hasn't managed to flatten the curve there. What we are also finding is that there's some significant delays on builds. So there's builders out there that used to be able to build in 16 to 20 weeks and now pushing out to around about 8 to 10 months. There's some builds out there now that are taking up to 15 to 18 months to complete. What we're trying to really do, is minimise this stretch, because the longer you're on site, the more interest costs you're going to pay. And of course, there's some damages sometimes that are pushed back onto the builder. Unfortunately, some of these things are out of their control. Land, the demand for titled land has also started to taper. That's actually gone down. So there was a lot of urgency for a while to find titled land. Some people are now buying into 2023, 2024. They may not be ready yet to buy. Also, finance. Finance is getting a little bit, the cost of getting money is getting a bit more expensive. So where you used to be able to borrow $1 million, now it might be down to $800,000. So people are recalculating what they're purchasing, and they're also trying to take into consideration the future interest rates and where they're going to be. So slow and steady wins the race. If you are still looking to get into the market, it's simply just pick the right builder, make sure your timeframes are met, make sure you've got a fixed price contract, and of course, minimise your variations and your upsize in terms of spend. We're joined again with Olga. We're going to follow up, how's your case study going, but more importantly, who are you, what do you do? Tell us a bit about yourself, Olga.
Thanks, Steve. So I'm one of the owners and directors of Tax Assure, and what we do at Tax Assure is we help people with tax debt. Very, very specialised in what we do, and we're specialist tax debt negotiators. So we help both individuals, we help companies that have a debt to get that debt back into a managed position. So we get them back into a compliant payment plan, but a payment plan they can afford, and where possible we help reduce the debt, which means we get rid of the interest and penalties, and we do that upfront. And the work we do is very bespoke, very tailored to what that individual client needs. As I said, whether it's a sole trader, we're seeing a lot of builders, a lot of people in the construction industry at the moment, but really across any industry, like I said, whether it's an individual, whether it's a company. All of the three owners and directors at Tax Assure, we were all lawyers in a past life. We're not accountants now, we're not lawyers, we're not liquidators, we're not lenders, we just help people with tax debt.
Perfect, so can that be anyone, as you're saying there, so from a coffee shop owner to a business that might have 5 to 10 people, and obviously you've got to deal with some bigger businesses as well. So do you have a size that you work with? Is it 100 staff or 200 staff?
Anyone that has debt and needs some help, we're there to help with. Take that stress away and get it back into a managed position. At the moment, we're helping people from anywhere from 50,000 up to 15.5 million.
Wow.
And the debt and the stress, I think, is relative to the size of your business. So 50,000 is just as stressful as 500,000, depending on the size of your business and what you do and your turnover.
Very interesting. So with your type of clientele, how do you get about and obviously meet these people? Where do your referrals come from?
So they come from all over the place. Brokers, accountants, we work in conjunction with a lot of accountants. So I often describe us a bit like you'd see your GP when you're not feeling very well, but if you smash your knee, you need to go to a specialist. So we're like the specialists when your knee's smashed, that you need someone to come in and just help with that particular bit. So we work in conjunction with accountants a lot and with brokers and all different people in the business world because we help such a variety of people, anyone that might might have debt. We get wheeled in. Sometimes I say we get wheeled in to clean it up, fix that very bit, and then off we go, we disappear into the sunset.
How do you handle all that? I could imagine that's a lot of stress for some people. Do you actually personally take that on yourself? Do you feel that stress when you're dealing with a client?
So in my old life, prior to being one of the owners and directors, I was a commercial litigation lawyer. So I suppose you're used to negotiating, you're used to deadlines, so we're used to dealing with it, and it's a huge actually sense of satisfaction when you can take that stress away from a client and you can see in their face, oh thank goodness I've got someone to help me, someone that can talk to the ATO on my behalf. So often they don't know where to start, where to turn to, who to get that help from. And once they've even spoken to you for the first time, the relief is massive.
So getting, maybe stepping back, so how do people get into these problems in the first place? How could they avoid that?
So a lot of the time I think it's a build up over time, and over COVID a lot of people weren't paying the debt and it builds up. Often there's a lot of bad things that happen in people's lives as well that are out of their control, and so they ignore this problem for a long time because they don't know where to start. It's scary, it's stressful, head in the sand syndrome, and so it's finding the right people and the right specialists to help you. And
last question for you, so after solving this problem, how do you help people set up so that doesn't happen again?
So it depends on what sort of help they want. Because we are so specialised, we don't necessarily do any further work from there, but we work in conjunction with a whole raft of different specialists, depending what the client might need, to refer them on or to have that help that they need.
Wow, well that's a lot of work. So, outside of work, what do you do to reduce stress?
So I love the beach.
Yeah.
Love walking. That's probably my biggest stress relief. And holidays. Obsessed with holidays.
Perfect. Well, you're going to be doing a lot of steps when we go and visit all these display homes.
Yep. Looking forward to it.
So we'll be getting over 10-20,000 steps a day. So
done.
Can't wait to see you and hear back from you with what you're doing in terms of our case study. Thanks again. Great to hear about your business and what you do. We'll speak to you shortly.
Thanks, Steve.
I'm joined here by the beautiful Kate Rees. Thank you for coming on to the New Property Show. You've got an interesting concept, the Home Build Mentor.
That's right, Home Build Mentoring. So my background is in building design and construction in terms of residential homes. So for 15 years, well actually 20 years, I worked in building design, and there was a real, I noticed that there was a real confusion with people that are coming into doing a new custom build or a major renovation and just kind of floating around trying to work out where to start without any real direction. So that's when I developed the Home Build Mentoring program to actually help them set their project in the right direction.
Well, I've never really actually heard of it. So how long has this business been around, and what's your ideal client look like?
Well, the actual Home Build Mentoring program has been in place now for 2 years. I originally ran it concurrently with my design business, but it's actually proven to be really attractive for people starting in the business, and I no longer take on the design work and I focus purely on the mentoring. The ideal client is really people that are looking at creating a home that holds a lot of meaning to them. So generally, there's terms that fly around like dream home, forever home, but really it's people that are creating a home that they want to share with their family and their people, and they want to get it right. And generally people that are usually professional and really successful at what they do, but just don't have a lot of experience in the building industry and don't want to stuff it up.
So a lot of moving parts, and obviously we've talked on this show about first home buyers, investors. Custom build's a whole nother category altogether. Is this actually designed just for clients, or do you work with developers as well?
No, it's really focused on really on homeowners, the ones that are really creating that special program. And I don't think it's so much that the learnings, couldn't be beneficial for developers, but most of them have their systems in place. They know the industry. This is really for homeowners right at the start of the process, because I find the reason that their projects potentially fail or don't come off the way they anticipated it is that they go into the process with unrealistic expectations. So they kind of go in and say, well, you know, we want it finished in 6 months, we want it to cost $1 million, and we want all these things in it. But they're all just things that they've thought of and thought, oh, that'll be great if we do it in 6 months.
Sounds nice on the checklist.
Exactly. But so the way that they can keep their project on track is to from the very start set some real parameters based on real industry conditions.
So what about, I guess, pricing and picking a builder? Do you actually help your clients ascertain who's the right builder to go to get these costs?
Well, what I do, the learnings of the Home Build Mentoring program are really to build the client's confidence and give them the right questions and reflections to make to actually choose the right designer and the right builder for them. So while I can direct them where to find them and those questions to ask, that final decision needs to be with them. I can't sit there and make that decision for them. And that's because the relationship that you will have with your designer or your builder, it's really such a personal relationship, and who may be the right designer for you or the right builder for you, it certainly might not be the right one for somebody else. So that's something that I don't choose it for them, but I certainly show them all the ways that they can find them and the right questions to ask and the reflections to make to know they're the right one.
I guess, quick questions. You want to just fire 3, I guess, very quick questions to you.
Yeah.
So what's been the biggest change you've seen in the building industry the last 3 years? Go.
Cost.
Perfect.
The cost to build.
How do people minimise that?
Change what we design. Make the houses smaller.
And why should they go to you?
They should go to me because they shouldn't risk it. I think the danger of going into this is that they're winging it. And when you're winging it with your life savings, you're putting a lot of stress on your relationship or your marriage or whatever your situation is when you go into it. So we can alleviate those stresses and make sure that the time and effort that they're putting in are going into the right direction and getting the outcome that they actually want.
Beautiful. So anyone wanting to talk about custom build, obviously go see Katie. Katie, thank you for joining us today on the New Property Show. What's the message you'd want to convey to a client right now?
Just that you don't need to wing it. The effort and the time and the money that you're going to put into this, it's too much to risk, that we need to make sure that we're directing it the right way and to get the right outcome for you and your project.
Beautiful. We'll see you again.
Thank you.
One week ago, we visited the House and Land Expo. We heard about the Queensland hotspots and the positive geared income and the benefits of cash flow is king.
Oh, look, it's been a crazy ride. So, sort of pre-COVID, look, things were going okay. COVID come along, and then everything was, I suppose, turned upside down. No one really knew what was around the corner. And then, sort of post-COVID, look, everyone knows property prices went crazy, particularly in regional towns. And that's where our sort of business model is based. Is we sort of appealing to that regional sort of market. So we're trying to attract the city buyers and sort of making the move west out of the big cities. And I think post-COVID has been a huge change for the world of property, definitely. So
probably say due to COVID, now we're starting to see the changes. We've had a very good market in the last 2 years or so. And now the shortages are starting to happen with trades, and the prices have obviously started to escalate dramatically. So a lot of the customers are sitting there scratching their head thinking, when does this stop? So that's something that we have to deal with on a daily basis, trying to explain to people what is currently happening and what the future is holding.
I think recent times, if we look over the last few years, there's no question that COVID has had an impact on materials and supply. And that has had a flow-on effect on the prices of building. That has meant that some people have felt less confident in what they're doing in the future. For us as a builder, we've been using the honest and upfront approach to being upfront with our clients, as we know things that we tell clients. However, that means that sometimes that affordability has been under question for customers. So for some people, they will think about it and maybe just take that little bit of time out and just wait and then see things change. So I think that's been a big change.
The show's been great. I think the deposit booster, where the cash flows around in that box, has been really popular. It's been a hit. I do believe we got most popular store yesterday, so that was great. That was a nice little win for us. We've had a lot of really great conversations with people that are really keen on getting into the property market. We think it's as good a time as ever to get into the property market. Property prices have corrected a bit recently, and while interest rates have gone up, still many people are in a position to achieve their goals or some version of their goals for getting into the property market.
They ought to be commended on putting on such a fantastic show. We'll definitely be here next year, that's for sure.
We are in the best time of the market cycle right now. So I would say to any investor, any home buyer, that get in right now, because you will miss the uplift that's coming in the next 7 years.
Being based up in Queensland, it's good to come down to Melbourne and see what all the other builders are doing and continuing to push each other. I think sustainability has been a really good topic that people have been talking about, and how do we build better, how do we be better, and all different aspects of the building side. And that's been great to see that not just the builders and the manufacturers, and it's seen that the buyers are conscious in that area as well, and it means a lot to them. So that's a real positive thing, because it creates us to push ourselves in innovation.
I would say real estate is one such industry wherein you get in, and I don't think it would ever go wrong. So always, I would encourage people to go more into investment. It could be either buying and selling the house off, or keeping it as an investment, but try to do it.
There's going to be a couple more interest rates, right? Probably not so big. And I think the market will, as far as interest rates, will level out over the next probably 6 to 7 months, where there probably won't be any more interest rates probably. That scepticism will go away.
I think first home buyers have a massive opportunity at hand here. So whether it's buying or existing borrowers who are refinancing their properties, I think there's still massive opportunities and gaps for us to win.
Well, this is the part of the segment which is called Rapid Fire Question Time. We've hand-selected some audience members to come forward and put their question to our team of experts. This week's questions are, over to you.
Hi, I'm Joe. My question, I've probably got two, if I can just belt out. Why are vacancy rates so important to an investor? And secondly, talking about subdivisions before, how are they worked out? What's the process, and how do you get the ball rolling?
Vacancy rates are important because the lower the vacancy rates, the higher demand the property is, and then ultimately the higher you can charge for the property because there's more competition.
Higher in rent?
Yeah.
Supply and demand.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
And same with selling your property. If there's more people looking for a house and less people selling a house, you're going to get more people offering a higher amount because they're desperate to get their house.
Great question. Second question?
There's a process. You hire a team of experts, town planners, and they will go out and do land survey and make sure how much is NDA, net developing area, how much you can use it. Because quite often, if it's 100% of the properties, 30% goes to roads and roads and pavements and side curves. So you're only allowed to use, or more or less 70%, multiplied by amount of area you have, multiplied dollar going in the market, you get to know how much you're going to make it. And
so
then,
what would be the minimum area that you need, land size, in order to get a subdivision?
Look, it's not worth it if you're doing it 10 or 20. The larger is the better. So like say, at least 50 to 80 lots is a good size. Doing like a 10, 15 is not I won't say not worth it. I think it's worth it, but it's not as exciting, as entertaining as you do 50, 60 or plus.
Excellent. Great question. Thank you so much. Thank you, Joe. Right. Who are you?
My name's Mary, and my question is, when you're looking to buy your first investment property, what are the advantages of building rather than buying something established?
Building a property, if you are educated in the area, is that you can specifically build a property that's going to be problem free for the landlord, so you're not going to have to continue going there and making changes or doing upgrades. You can also look at doing things where the power efficiency and energy efficiency, where it will cost the owner of the property a lot less than a already established property that could be on a different energy efficiency level. You've also got the options of less maintenance as well, so that might be a benefit in building a brand new house.
I think the elephant in the room there would be tax advantages. The advantage with building a new property is what's called a depreciation schedule, versus an old property can have additional costs that you're not aware of. Thank you so much for your question.
Thank you.
You had a good answer.
I'm trying to get into it better.
Hey guys, I'm Matt. My question's pretty simple. You referenced building prices before. My question, probably directed more towards Intaj, would be, obviously things are changing in the construction space, affordability is becoming tough with interest rates and whatnot. Do you see land prices coming down at all?
I would say, look, I've some builder and a big land developer told me something. Do you know what controls the market? Does anyone know what controls the market? Demand and supply. People think quite often interest rates. I don't believe myself now is interest control the market. If there's no supply, what you got to buy? So I think definitely will say that, you know, the land house prices will go up, because you look at the now in suburbs now, there's not many PSPs been approved, there's not many planning permits been approved, it will maintain. So the price, the land price will come back. It will be going down now, will come back again.
Cool. Thank you. Great question. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Mariana and I have a question for the panel. Just wondering, what are some pros and cons of rent vesting?
Number one is you get to live at home.
Rent free.
Parents can do your washing for you.
Yeah, I like the idea of rent vesting, especially when you're rent vesting, you don't have to worry about buying your own occupied property and structuring the house for your personal needs. Rent vesting gives you the flexibility, especially for people who want to travel around and just keep hopping around to different properties and continue growing their wealth through property. I think that's a smart idea.
Yeah, another thing we see too is where somebody might want to live in the city, but they can't afford a mortgage in the city. So they're renting in the city, but they're purchasing in the outskirts where they can afford the mortgage and renting that one.
Excellent answer. That's exactly what I would have said. Fantastic. Great question.
Thank you.
Hey, my name is James. I get a lot of my friends and I were looking at purchasing a property, and we all have family that can help us. What are some of the options we can go to getting our first property with the help of family?
Bank of mum and dad. If you're in the fortunate position where you do have the option of mum and dad helping out, that's awesome. There are a few options you can do.
Guarantors.
Yeah.
And obviously gifted funds could be an option as well. So if you do have a family member who wants to provide you a non-refundable gift, the bank will use that as part of a deposit. If that's not the case, and mum and dad or a family member have a property that they're happy to put as security, they can go through the guarantor avenue, because we understand it is hard to save a deposit with rent being so expensive.
To add on that too, if mum and dad aren't super cash rich, but they do have a little bit of money to play with, there is also the option of the LMI family guarantee, where the family member can pay the lender's mortgage insurance for the family member, and you can actually get a 15% discount on that, so you don't have to pay the full amount, you get that discount. And then thirdly, on my end, is obviously if your parents aren't in the position where they can give you funds, they're not comfortable in going security guarantor, then just educating, teaching and pushing your child in the right direction.
Excellent. Great question. Thank you.